Hi guys, it's Josh. In this video, I'll be talking about what the college admissions office is looking for, from grades in your transcript to extracurriculars, test scores, recommendations, and many of the factors that they consider. When it comes to applying to college, it's important to know the admissions policies that a lot of colleges use. For a lot of elite colleges within the US, they tend to use the admissions policy known as holistic admissions. And what this means is that instead of just looking at the GPA or standardized testing, schools are going to see everything that you include in your application. And this could be your essays, your extracurriculars, your honors, anything that you happen to include, they will use that to determine if you will be admitted. And so I feel this is very important because a lot of people place so much emphasis on having the great grades and the great score to where a lot of the other aspects of their application are lacking, and that can result in a student not being admitted. So I think that it's very important to have a strong application as a whole and to know that one factor is not going to be the one that throws you completely out of the applicant pool. When colleges are considering you for admission, they are going to be looking for your high school transcript. The high school transcript is going to list many things such as your GPA, your class rank, the courses that you've taken, and the grades that you've received in those courses. The GPA is going to be the most important factor in predicting your success at the college level. As I said, predicting because things may change, but when colleges are evaluating applicants, they're taking a risk in accepting you and they want to know that you will succeed and most likely graduate at their university. So they use the GPA. For many schools online, you can look up what is the GPA range for my dream college, and at some of the most prestigious universities in the US, they are going to require that you have a GPA of above a 4.0. And so basically what this means is that in your high school career, you've taken AP classes, IB classes, or honors classes, anything that is advanced that will boost your GPA. When it comes to class rank, many schools will look at all of the students in a certain grade or core, and they will look at your GPAs, and the person with the highest GPA will be ranked 1, and then you'll have 2, 3, and so on. Class rank is not as important as the grade point average. For example, if you have a very high GPA, but you are not valedictorian in your class, most likely this is not going to affect you. But a lot of top tier institutions will consider your class rank when admitting you because they are looking to take the brightest students that they can. And so when it comes to Ivy League and top tier schools, they'll typically announce online like the percentage of students at their school that were in the top 10% of their high school class. Typically, this percent will always be somewhere around 90 or higher. So it's very important that if that type of school is your dream college, that you are coming out on top among your peers. When it comes to the transcript, though, a lot of colleges are going to be looking at your transcript side by side with what is known as the secondary school report. And so the secondary school report is going to allow colleges to evaluate your transcript contextually. Because there are so many different high schools with so many different course catalogs, it's impossible for colleges to just know what classes are available at your school, and they can't make accurate comparisons with you and other applicants to see like how many classes did you take and that were of a certain academic level, and did you take advantage of all the opportunities available to you. When it comes to more selective schools, they're going to look at this secondary school report and they're going to see, okay, this school has around 20 AP courses. This student only took 1. That's not really the type of student that we want at our school because they had 20 different options, yet they only choose to pursue one opportunity. So that's how colleges will probably look at the secondary school report. And a lot of kids will wonder, well, how many AP classes or advanced classes do I need to take to be considered qualified to go to a certain school? And so it really depends on the type of college that you're aiming for. If you're aiming for an Ivy League university or top 10, maybe top 20, you're probably going to want at least eight AP or IB courses or advanced level courses at your high school to measure up to your peers. Now, if your school only offers 5, you can only take the 5 of them. But if your school offers a large amount, you're going to want to at least take 8 to measure up to your peers. And for top 100 schools, you probably are going to want around like 4 AP to IB courses, but typically for these schools, they're going to want to see that you took a good amount of them. Now, once you surpass 8 AP courses or IB courses, colleges are going to be like, wow, that's impressive, but they're not going to sit and be like, wow, this person took 20 AP classes, this one only took 8. Clearly, they're better. Like, they're not going to do that. When it comes to taking AP classes, though, a lot of more selective schools will want to see that you've taken advanced classes in all the academic areas or academic disciplines. And so basically what this means is that because at so many colleges, there are core curriculums and general education requirements that will make you take courses in a bunch of different academic areas, colleges want to see that you are able to succeed at doing college level work in those areas already. And so most likely a college will want to see that you've taken at least a few advanced courses in English, history, maybe foreign language, maths, and sciences. And this will let them know, okay, this student, they are well-rounded, but we know they'll be able to succeed in the different types of college level work, not just a few. Another thing that a lot of students wonder when it comes to applying to college or just picking their courses is, well, how many AP courses should I take? In all honesty, I would love to say that the amount of AP courses you take does not matter and that you should take as many as you feel or as few as you feel. But when it comes to applying to top colleges and certain colleges, they're going to want to see a certain number. And so it's really difficult to take a lot of AP courses in 1 year. And so I've come up with a little bit of spacing out how many you should probably aim to take each year if your goal is to shoot for more of a top tier institution. So as a freshman, a lot of schools want to allow freshmen to take AP courses, but if they do, maybe at least one. You don't really know what an AP course is like, and this is the first time that you'll be immersing yourself in that type of material. You don't want to overload yourself. And so one is definitely safe. I know my freshman year, I only took 1 AP class and I was able to balance it with my other ones, but it definitely took some adjusting. As a sophomore, this is probably when a lot of more AP classes are going to be available to you, and it's best to take 2 to 3. My sophomore year, I took 3 AP classes, but a lot of my friends took around 2 to 3. And so that will give you a little bit more rigor, but it won't put you on a full blast rigor. Like, it won't be incredibly hard for you to balance. As a junior, this is probably going to be your most hectic year of high school, where you're taking the most advanced courses that you've ever taken. And I would say probably to shoot for 3 to 5 AP courses. Only you know how many AP courses you can handle based on your past experience. So if you think that 5 is the number for you, I say go for it. But if you are kind of shy, you're not really sure, I wouldn't overshoot and then possibly do bad in those courses, because that will bring down your GPA. And then as a senior, a lot of students will kind of ease up on their course load or the rigor of their courses when it comes to senior year, because you're a senior in high school, it's your last year, you want to enjoy it. And sometimes this is okay. If you don't really have your eyes set on a top tier institution and you just want to go to maybe your flagship state school or a lesser known school that's less selective, easing up your senior year won't really do you any harm. But if your goals are set on any type of elite school, they're gonna want to see that you still are challenging yourself even when it gets hard. And so as a senior, you probably want to take 3 to 4 AP classes, but if you have signed up for the IB program, you'll most likely be taking the 6 your junior year and then 6 again, or 5 of them your senior year. So that will be good for you. Something that I really want to say is you can only worry about what is in front of you. You can only worry about your opportunities. You can't sit here and compare yourself to other people at other schools who are taking this many courses. You can only look at what is offered at my school, what are the opportunities, and what can I take advantage of. That's how colleges are going to be looking at you as an applicant. They're not going to say, oh, well, this student only took 5 AP courses and this one took 10. They're going to say, wow, this student took the 5 AP courses out of the 5 offered at their school, while the kid who took 10 out of 20. So that's something that you really need to consider. They will not fault you for not taking advantage of opportunities that you don't have. And then a general rule of thumb is when it comes to more selective universities, they're going to want to see that you took the hardest courses available to you or the most challenging. And typically at a normal American high school, you'll have AP and that will be the hardest, and there will be opportunities to dual enroll. But a lot of colleges, they really value AP over dual enrollment when it comes to course rigor. And then if you have the IB program offered at your school, they're going to want to see that you took the IB program, because IB higher level courses are going to be more challenging than AP ones. So that's kind of a rule of thumb. If you have IB offered at your school and your eyes are set on a top tier school, I would do the IB program. But if no IB, AP, and then maybe a mix of dual enrollment. But if dual enrollment or gifted are the only things you have, those are definitely great opportunities for you to consider. Another important factor that colleges have considered for years are test scores. Typically in high school, you'll take the SAT or ACT, and many colleges will accept either or. They don't really have a preference. And I know that some students will do better on the SAT than they do on the ACT, and it can be the other way around. But these are going to be very important in getting you in the door. In recent years, test scores have kind of been optional for some students. In my experience, I applied test optional, but for other students I know, they stressed test scores and they made sure that they were getting those in. When it comes to test scores, if you decide to include your test score in your application, what's really important for you to consider are the percentiles that school will list. Typically, you can look up your school on Google and it'll be like students or testing, and it'll have a 25th and a 75th percentile. And so basically what this means is that if you score the 25th percentile score, that means that out of everyone at the university, you scored higher than 25% of people. And for the 75th percentile, if you get that score, it means that you scored higher than 75% of people at the university. And so typically in recent years with test optional, I've heard submit if you can, but don't submit if you must. The reason I say this is the test score is very valuable. It's a metric that is the same for everyone who takes that test. I mean, everyone takes the same test. It's not subjective at all when colleges are looking to compare you to the other applicants in the pool. But if you don't have a test score that you feel truly reflects your academic abilities, I would say don't submit, because if you do, it may make you seem underqualified. And so, yeah. If you do submit a test score, it'll take a little bit of the weight off of the other aspects of your application. So if you were applying to a college and there was someone who had a similar application as you, but they included a very high test score, the college would most likely be more convinced that the applicant with the high test score is capable of succeeding at their school than the applicant who didn't. Many colleges will say that you're not disadvantaged if you choose not to submit one, but it can always help. So that's just something to consider. And yeah. Another thing about test scores is that a lot of colleges will super score, and you can often go on Google and look up if your school super scores. And what this means is that colleges will take your highest scores on the sections of the test that you take so that your score is the highest that it possibly can be when they are considering you for admission. And I find this to be really well because maybe one time you took the SAT and you did really well on the math, but your head was kind of hurting when it came to reading those long passages. A lot of schools will be forgiving and they will allow you to take the SAT again and then just use the higher reading score that you made the next time. So I think that's very valuable, but not every school does super score. And so this is something that you might want to look up. Some schools will want you to take the SAT or ACT in one sitting and they'll take a one sitting score, while others will be ready to super score. So that's something that's very important to consider. Another important factor that colleges will consider is demographics. And you'll often see this when an application asks you to indicate what your sex is or your gender identity, what religion you're part of, what race or ethnic background you come from. And this is very important because colleges are looking to build their brightest class, but also a diverse class. They want a very well-rounded class from very different backgrounds. And so these facts about you are extremely important to accurately include or input so that colleges are able to make a very diverse class. And also, a lot of colleges will consider your demographics when considering your financial aid. And what I mean by this is that there are often scholarships that a college may have depending on if you are an underrepresented student or if you come from a certain religious background. And so you really want to be considered for these scholarships. So that's another important reason why you would like to include these. Another important factor, and personally, I feel like this is one of the most important factors that colleges consider when considering you for admission, is extracurriculars. And extracurriculars are any activities that you partake in outside of the classroom. Typically, when you're applying to an elite college or a very popular college that's kind of selective, you're going to have a lot of students like you who have the same GPA, the same test scores, and colleges want to see what makes you different, what makes you tick. Like, they want to admit people who are diverse in background, but also have diverse interests, and people who are willing to pursue their passions. And extracurriculars can be a great way for you to show colleges what you care about outside of the classroom. And they help colleges to see, well, how are you going to contribute to our community? They help them to predict from how you contributed to the community around you, how you will contribute to their community. And so an extracurricular could be a club, a sport, a hobby that you're heavily interested in or passionate about, a part-time job that you work, or summer job, or even significant family responsibilities. I want to talk a little bit about significant family responsibilities and what exactly that entails, because that's a question that I'll hear often by other students just asking, well, what really counts as significant family responsibilities? And so, in my opinion, I think significant family responsibilities are things that are going to take up a lot of your time outside of the classroom. Not necessarily, oh, you help clean once in a while or you babysit occasionally. Significant family responsibilities are going to be things that are consistent, that are going to take up large portions of your time, such as caring for your siblings while your parents are at work after school, caring for a sick family member, and things of that realm. And I feel like it's very important to share these things with colleges because colleges want to know, well, how are you spending your time? And if you're not telling them that you have to babysit or go to your grandmother's house for 20 hours a week and just make sure everything is fine, they'll start to wonder, well, why don't you have a lot more activities? Why did you only participate in just a few? And this definitely is important when they're comparing you to other applicants, because if you only have a few clubs and a few contributions compared to somebody who is maybe a leader in multiple clubs and has a lot of passions, they'll most likely see that person as a better applicant than you, but it's not your fault because you had things going on that were just as equally important that you had to tend to. One thing about extracurriculars that a lot of people go wrong at is they assume that the more activities that I include, the better. The more that I do, the better that it will be. And this is not true. Personally, I think it's kind of stressful to be a leader of 5 different clubs. I don't see how anyone in that position is able to truly invest their full attention and focus into just their few clubs. I feel like it's just kind of hard to balance that, and a lot of colleges will see through this. It's better to be president or leader of just a few clubs and have like other clubs that you sometimes contribute to than try and juggle all of these leadership responsibilities, because how can you be fully interested? How can you be the best leader that you can be when you have so many different obligations? And so I feel like a general rule is passion always prevails. So if you have a few main extracurriculars that you spend a lot of time doing, most likely a college is going to value that passion that you have over another applicant who just kind of, well, I go over here sometimes and then I go over there. Another factor that colleges will consider when considering you for admission is teacher recommendations. Now, teacher recommendations are not going to be your saving grace. There can definitely be some promising words that your teachers write that convince the school that you are a worthy applicant, but teacher recommendations are not going to be the thing that gets you in the door. They definitely will help, they will add, but a good recommendation just helps to ensure a college that they're making the right choice. On the other hand, a bad recommendation can have a very serious impact on your admission decision. If I were to be an admissions officer, if I'm viewing 100 applicants and they all have decent recommendations, well, they all have good recommendations. They're all good students. They're all qualified. But if I have 100 students and 95 of them have great recommendations and only 5 have really bad ones, it makes the job slightly easier in seeing, well, this is not really someone who's respectable, who we would want to represent our class. So it's very important that you're going to teachers who know you well, who know your positive traits, that will be able to testify on your behalf for what a great individual that you are. And when it comes to recommendations, I think that it's really great to have them balanced. Most colleges will ask for 2, some 1, but most 2, and then others will have optional recommendations that you can send in. I feel like it's very important to have balanced recommendations because colleges want to see how are you as a student in the main 2 areas like humanities and STEM. How do you differ? As a student, do you have duality? Are you able to excel in both areas, or are you only limited to one? And so this is something that a lot of colleges will want to see in a recommendation, aside from like positive traits, but that's something that you can do to better your application. And I feel that when it comes to writing teacher recommendations, so many teachers get the email asking them, a lot of teachers know you to an extent, but they don't know everything about you. And sometimes it's really good to draft a list or a college profile of what are some things that I did or things that I would want them to know about when writing about me. And typically these are going to be like extracurriculars, achievements, positive traits. And it's okay. It's okay to brag about yourself because you want